Forward to obviously a great test, really good Texas A&M team. We have, as I mentioned, some unique styles, different challenges here these first few games. Our next one as well. A&M's terrific team. They've got a really good backcourt with Taylor and Radford. And they've got across the board depth on the front line. Really good offensive rebounding team. They were 5th in the country last year. They do a great job on the offensive glass. That'll be obviously a big key. And they get to the free throw line at a high level as well. Defensively, they mix things up. They make it difficult. And there's a reason why they had the year they had last year, and certainly returned some key players for them. So they're well coached. Buzz does a great job. So looking forward to a great challenge.
Chris, I know you don't want to make this kind of game bigger than it is, but what can you learn from an early season matchup like this?
Well, you schedule them for a reason. You want to be tested, whether it's home, road, neutral. I'm a fan of home and homes, as you guys know. I like playing at other teams' places, and I like doing home and homes. I'm more in favor of that than neutral site games. But it's been the trend the last 5 years to really have more neutral site. I just think for our game as coaches, we have to push more home and homes and less neutral site games. So regardless of the outcome, I think these games are always important to play on each other's court. So obviously we'll return there, and it'll be early next year as well. So we'll get just early test against a good team that's picked to have a great year, and that's always a good thing, really a good thing.
We were just talking to Jameson. He mentioned how he hasn't had a winning season in his college basketball career. He said the similarities of going through what he went through at Minnesota and GW before that, and then what you guys went through last year has helped him kind of mesh with this roster. Did you see that and kind of bring him in and fitting in with kind of getting over some of those, I guess, losing struggles?
No. We brought him in because of his skill set and what we felt like he could provide for us. That was really why we brought him in.
I guess what I mean to ask is, can that help him kind of bond together with the other guys, knowing that he's been through stuff like that?
It's a different team, and there were guys on this team, Zed in particular, that had a really good couple of years, his first couple of years here, and was a part of good winning teams. So, I think what strikes me about Jameson is just he's a really good kid. And I think his maturity and having gone through years of college basketball benefits him like it does Dale. I think that and there's probably a hunger there, since you mentioned he hasn't had a winning season. There's probably a hunger there that I think is really important. We had a kid a couple of years ago, Keyshawn Woods, who had not played in the NCAA tournament, and he was really hungry to play in the NCAA tournament. It was a bit of a kind of a rebuild at that point for us with our roster. And boy, you saw the look in his eyes the last 7 games of the year, where he was really focused just on playing in the NCAA tournament. I think that did provide a benefit, so I could see that benefit for sure.
Chris, I know their defense challenges you need, like you just said. You're getting some unique challenges from some teams here early going. What is it about their defense? Is there any overlap with what your prep was like for Oakland?
Different. In Oakland, obviously, was unique. Our next game, as I talked about, plays one of the most effective zone defenses, Merrimack, in the country. This one, Adam, has differences to Oakland, and that they do play a lot of man-to-man, but they're really good at switching. And when you talk about switching, there's a lot of different philosophies on doing it. Are you going to switch on ball? Are you going to switch off ball? How much are you going to do it? What type of screening actions are you going to do? Are you always going to switch likes? Are you going to switch likes and then scram and get back, or be okay with a mismatch? I'm trying not to get too technical here, but there's a lot of different ways that they just make, and they're really committed to it. I think they're really committed to it. They've got good length, really, really tough kids. Really tough kids. And they'll pin you in. They will pin you in, and they fled to the ball. They're just really good at getting to their spots, and they've got, maybe not, they've got good length, not unbelievable length, but good length. And they've got the really good athleticism and quickness. But their switching, I think, is a big part of what they do.
And I know some of how they play, they will encourage you in some ways often to shoot the three. And I know how it went the other night.
Yeah.
Are you confident in this team that it will be a better three-point shooting team than what we saw, given that Oakland did play a unique style of defense?
Yeah, no, and they do a good job challenging threes, a little bit like Oakland did, where they'll fly at you, they'll leave their feet and fly at you. So I think I do believe in our guys' ability to make threes, but I think, Adam, that's something we also have to answer in terms of our ability to effectively shoot the ball from behind the line. And Roddy showed the ability to make it more consistently than what he did the other night. He's probably got to pick and choose a little bit more than what he did. And Dale's a really good shooter, and he's shown that. If you watched our two, you did watch one of our exhibitions, but our other one, he shot it really well actually. So I'm confident in his shooting. That's where a lot of that will come from, is those perimeter guys.
You mentioned the veteran backcourt that Texas A&M has. Do you see this as a good early litmus test specifically for your guards going against such a unit?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's one of the best backcourts we'll face. I really do. I mean, they've got, obviously, Taylor's preseason SEC Player of the Year, but Radford's a terrific guard, tough, attack-minded, athletic. It's a terrific backcourt.
Can you expand more on the challenges that Taylor presents?
Well, he's a terrific offensive player. He's got great change of pace. He's good in ball screens. He's got the ability to really shoot it with range and depth. He can also make good reads. He's good with the ball. He can see your ball screen coverage and make particular reads against it. I think his change of pace, his speed, all that. He's not the biggest guard, but he's just a really talented guard.
Chris, you mentioned obviously rebounding is something that A&M does really well. So I guess looking at the front court players for A&M, what specific players kind of jump out to you, and then what do you need to do well to kind of go against
Well,
that?
Coleman's a really good player, but their forwards are really good as well. But it's not just their front court guys. They'll send at times 4 to 5 at the offensive glass. I think you can tell that's a big part of what they do, and their numbers back that up. So it's really going to be a collective effort for us right now. It's just a major part of what they do and a major part of their offensive efficiency. Different teams provide different strengths. We know that, and that's a major strength for this group. It's clear that that's something they've really bought into. They also do a great job of tipping balls out. It will be obviously a great challenge for us, and we've talked about that being an area we have to continue to get better in.
How did Evans' early foul trouble impact your plans for your rotation and lineups throughout the game?
I think Scotty provided good lift for us. Fortunately, we were able to play Jamison and we played a little bit smaller in terms of Jamison played more minutes at the 4 than he has. I think that was the biggest thing. Evans, he's a sophomore, and he played a little bit at Penn State, but didn't play a huge role. So he's still, I think, going to be growing in front of our eyes right now. He's a really versatile player offensively and defensively. But it hurt having him on the floor, having him off the floor with 2 fouls. But I wasn't ready to put him back in. Sometimes I'll play guys with 2 fouls, but at that point I just decided to get him to the half with 2.
And it's always interesting early in the season trying to see things you might do in specific situations. And with about 8 seconds left in the first half, you guys had a timeout and drew up a play and didn't get a shot. I just wonder if you could, what were you looking for in that point? Or do you have a feel yet for who you want to lean on in some of those moments?
Yeah, we had a kid we just didn't run it right. So some of that happens. We had some youth and experience and just some new guys out there. We've got to execute better. That falls on all of us.
the first 30 minutes, I don't know, 25 minutes, I wouldn't say passive, but maybe not as aggressive, I don't know, against the zone. I know that was a difficult nut to crack with their zone, but maybe what was the difference in the inroads where you guys were able to start? Looked like Roddy got into the lane.
Yeah.
And composed himself and was able to make some plays, and that kind of changed some things.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I didn't think we were as aggressive. Some of that I think is just, kids getting more comfortable with it, and as much as we did it and mimicked it in practice, similar to tomorrow night's defense. I think it'll take us a minute because it is different than what we traditionally see. But I think we needed to be more aggressive, particularly at attacking in the gaps. Bruce has got to do a better job with that. He will. And you're right, it took us a minute, and then once we did, that was not the biggest issue. We were able to attack it pretty effectively the last, 25, 30 minutes. It was defending the three-point line.
Yesterday, National Signing Day, you added 2 players to the program. I wonder if you could just give us a rundown what you think of them in your class.
Yeah, really excited about both Juni and Colin. You guys, I think I've shared with some of you guys, this was and is always going to be a small class. At one point we thought it could just be a one-person class because we're obviously a really young team currently. So when you have the amount of youth we have right now, is it really wise to have another, young class? And we didn't feel like that was smart. So we were going to stick with 1 or 2 guys probably. And in the reality, we are just thrilled with both guys. Juni's as good a shooter as we have added since we've been here. He is dynamic, shooting the ball, and he's maybe the best kid at his age I've seen shooting threes off the bounce. He can really, really shoot the ball and score the ball. And his size doesn't limit him because he's got great range. He's just a fantastic offensive player, and he's grown in other areas of his game. And then Colin, we love what Colin's going to bring. We just really do. He's tough, and he's a physical player. He's got good length, good positional size. He's shot it better this last kind of couple years. He's going to really help our program, and he loves Ohio State. We're really thrilled with both guys. We really are.
Colin had to work for his scholarship offer. He's talked a lot about that, and you guys were watching him for a long time before he took those steps that you wanted to see. What is it like going through that process with a kid? Because I'm sure there are kids that might say, the big school and state didn't offer me, to heck with them.
Yeah.
But he took the opposite route.
Yeah, that can happen. But to Colin's credit, I think he was understanding. We were also very transparent with him during that whole process. And we told him, 1, it was going to be a smaller class, and 2, we just wanted to continue to evaluate. I specifically wanted to continue to evaluate. We knew how important that was going to be. And we said, hey, Colin, for us, we'll just, we want to make sure if we bring you in, we know you're going to be a guy that we feel like can really impact our team and our roster. And when we feel like that, we were all in. And, we might have felt like that a little bit more sooner than we actually offered him, but we were just trying to be really thorough in that process. We communicated it to him, to his family, and they were, he's as he should be. He's a good player. He's a prideful kid. So I understood where he was coming from too. Like, Coach, is it going to happen or not? But I'm just really glad we got to the point to where we were able to see him and evaluate him, because I think he's really going to help our program.
I'll ask about Juni. To go to Wasatch Academy for his senior year, it feels like he's going to a finishing school, to get the final touches put on it.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Scotty Middleton, it'll be the same level of competition that Scotty played, and looks like he's making an immediate impact here. Is that kind of what you're hoping happens with Juni similarly?
It certainly helps him. And here's why I think it helps kids like that as much as anything, Steve, is when you're a kid like those guys are, like most of our guys are, they're the best player on their team. in high school. When they play at maybe in their state, particular school, high school, they're typically one of the best players or the best player. And there's value in that. Devin played on a great team and won a state championship and got to the state finals. There's real value in that. I think the value in going and playing against the kind of competition that Juni will play against, Scotty will play. I won there, really well coached. And two, you play with other good players. So you understand when you get to college, you're going to play with other good players. You got to figure out how to make your strengths add to the team, add value to the team. Scotty, I think, learned that when he was at Sunrise for sure.
Just two personnel things. Just wondering, Tayson and Austin, kind of where they are. Obviously, they're going through warm-ups and stuff, so it looks like they're getting closer. But what's the status on them moving forward? Any updates there?
Yeah, both guys are making progress. Tayson still similar timeline. Austin probably would be available if we needed him to play a couple of minutes, but we'll see what our rotation looks like.
And just out of curiosity, normally by now there've been some kind of social media post. Here's the team captains. And I'm just curious what's kind of gone into maybe this year being different, and have you decided on the captains yet?
Yeah, we've talked about it. We've talked about it as a staff. We voted, and at some point we'll probably release it, Adam. I just want to see more as we kind of want to go through some games and see if we'd like to add to that group that we currently have right now. That's really my reasoning for it. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.